Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot and welcome to today's reading. So, in this reading today, we are finding ourselves kind of in an interesting place if the notes that are coming in from you guys are any indication. So, a lot of change, a lot of waking up, feeling uneasy. Some of you have had some dreams. Some of you are just waking up feeling a little bit uneasy and like somebody said like the air is boiling. Like it's just there's constantly this churn kind of happening there. So we know there's a lot of emotion going on. We know there are things they aren't quite sure how to process. So we're going to go ahead and look in and just see what it is that you need to know about this energy and maybe what you can do about it a little bit. So we'll look into it as usual, but it will be a general reading for this collective, as it always is. This one, you know, it won't resonate with everybody. These readings won't resonate with everybody, but if they resonate with you, go back, take a look at some of the other readings to get some of the other messages if you are so inclined. Also, maybe hit subscribe, maybe hit like so that other people can find it as well. I think I'm going to use this as my main deck. We're going to go ahead and get started here with looking at what is happening kind of just in your person's energy. And we will focus, it'll be shared energy, but primarily, I think, focused on your person for the sake of this. And let's see here. So the first thing we have come out right away is the Eight of Wands. It's fast-moving energy. Oh, there goes that Polaris card. Okay, that's the Star in the reverse, holding back. So this is part of why we're feeling some of this tension. We were already feeling a little bit of this tension just because this person is feeling a lot of tension. But in this time, I just feel like that's incredibly common. I don't think there's a person out there in this collective where your person is just kind of getting by and not feeling anything. Yeah. With the Moon in reverse, there's information coming to them. They are in no way comfortable about it, and they may feel even a little bit defensive about it. There's a sense of defensiveness that comes with this Moon card, and then with the Star card, a sense of things not necessarily going their way quickly enough. That is legitimate, that things are not moving there's some sort of holdup. There's some sort of delay that is causing things not to move quickly, but I suspect that's for a reason. And despite the fact that we have that delay, we also have some fast moving energy. So it's like they're feeling pressure to move, but feeling like they can't for some reason. It's creating something that almost feels like shame or something, again, that they have to be defensive about. There's something in here that they end up feeling defensive about, and I don't know, like, I understand that it's justified, that there's a lot of push and pull happening in this energy, and that may be very frustrating for them. I'm not sure why it would be coming out the way that it seems like it is. So let's get in there a little bit more deeply. This is a frustrating time for your person in this energy. Frustrating and turning a little defensive, like I was saying. So let's see here. So we have the World. Something is coming to an end. We've seen things ending for your person here in some of these readings recently. This is maybe not the first cycle they've had coming to an end, because as we're all engaged in numerous cycles at any given time, and sometimes when they are falling apart, coming to an end, determining that they are not at an end, they can be disruptive just because that's the way they feel. With this one feels very disruptive, and it has them on a self-destructive streak here with the Ace of Wands. I don't know how deep of a self-destructive streak this is, and I guess what I mean by that is it may not look like they're doing anything inappropriate or out of place with that. But rest assured that they are, like, their respiration isn't the same as usual. There's something in here that is a tell. There's something in here that, even though it may look like things are, to the outside observer, that things are going reasonably normally for this person, there's something that really feels like to them that it's not. And there's a tell that you'd be able to identify from a little bit, you know, from a distance. Maybe like you personally would be able to identify it from a distance. It might be something where you would notice a certain look on their face or certain look in their eyes, something that kind of lets you know things are not as they should be with this person. And it, like I said, it really is It feels like it's bringing out a bit of a self-destructive streak in them, which in this energy doesn't really surprise me. Something's got to give. It's got a feeling of something's got to give. All right, so we've got the Hierophant. They're looking to lean, or they're looking to reach back to what they used to know, something that used to give them comfort, maybe a person who used to give them comfort. And when I say a person, I don't mean like an ex or someone of that nature, unless that ex happens to be like their, their advisor from a spiritual perspective. This is maybe somebody that goes back to, could be clergy from a church that they attended a long time ago as a child, could be something that their heart goes back, their thoughts go back, something causes them to go back, and they make some sort of realization, but it's not necessarily making them feel more comfortable. In fact, they just feel a little bit less qualified or a little bit less prepared to handle what's happening. So it's like they go to a place for, that would be this person, this clergy person. It doesn't have to be clergy, but it's somebody that it's like that. It's somebody that they really trusted the view of this person, the perspectives of this person, and this is someone who will have given them some spiritual guidance. They have not necessarily gone back to this person, but they've thought back to this person, and something about that is making them feel even more anxiety where they went there for comfort, and so it's kind of like everywhere they turn, they're having, continuing to have all that emotion they don't know how to process. We were talking about continuing to just have a ton of fear that revolves around that and doesn't seem like it makes, doesn't go in the right direction. There's this fear and they're just kind of pushing it down. Pushing it down and doing what they know for the most part. But it's pushing them into a place of change, reminding them of things that have transpired in the past, but they're not feeling very good about their ability to negotiate that ground, okay? So there is change happening in their current life that pushes them, almost like pushes them at you, pushes them toward you because of the types of lessons that they are now engaging in. So they're being brought to a place of what would be union for you, with you, but they are not being prepared to make the changes that bring them there. Like there are some very clear, discrete changes that need to happen that they are not prepared to make. Now, there is an awful lot, and that's what the Death card is about. It's not wanting to make those changes. The Two of Cups is about bringing you and that partnership and that union closer, but they're kicking and screaming for some reason, and it isn't what we might think. This has a lot more to do with the discomfort with the self, with the fact that they feel like they should be farther along on something right now. There's a lot of a feeling of just inconsistency within them because of the pushing and the pulling and the back and forth. They can't stop thinking about you and the time that you shared. And yet, even the act of thinking of that reminds them of how not ready they are. We see that a little bit with the Empress. We see it even more here with this Eight of Pentacles, how not ready they are to move forward in a situation of union, despite the fact that they have like it's a compulsion to move back in your direction. Compulsion is the right word. It feels like a compulsion to move back into your direction, but a lot of fear about doing so. And this is why we see a person who will really only enter a situation they know they can get back out of if they have to, and they have a plan to remove themselves. That's one of the things that we see. So a tendency for them to be brought into union with you, but again, only entering a situation if they know they can get right back out, if they have to do that. So they also are, I would say, blessed with, but also burdened with a greater awareness of why they're doing what they're doing. And they aren't overly proud of what they're seeing there. So despite the fact that they've got some things that are coming to that end, it's not a place of rest for them. Some of it just can't pass judgment. They feel like they've missed an opportunity and continue to kind of sit in the crossroads there while the emotions close in on them. That's a really uncomfortable sort of setting, and add to this that it definitely has become evident in the air, just in the energy, in your notes, that we're in this eclipse cycle. Okay, remember we had this prenumbral lunar eclipse a few days ago, and we've got this full solar eclipse coming up in about a week. In addition, one of the things that we're feeling is this Mercury retrograde that's going to be starting up here in a couple days. So I would just say, like, the thing that comes out for me here is hang on, folks. They know not what they do. There's a sense of them, of your person kind of almost flailing and trying to find a purchase, find a place for traction that will make them feel a little bit better. You may be that place of traction. You may be the thing that makes them feel a little bit better. They are being drawn back into union with you, but partially it's because they're being drawn back toward their lessons, and they're not necessarily making the distinction between the lessons and the relationship with you the way that you maybe are. So we do these readings every day, and we see, okay, there's a connection between the bond that the two of you have and these lessons that you are learning, which are not exactly the same for everybody, but they are similar. They're in the same kind of vein for many of you and for many of your people. Your person does not necessarily make the connection with the bond and the lessons in the same way, but they're definitely still walking down the path for both of those things. And so here they feel drawn in. They're learning the lessons. They're being presented with those lessons just like you are, but they don't necessarily know that even if they never got to see you again, that they would continue to learn those lessons. They are very much drawn to you to finish something that feels like it's been started. So they've got something else that has finished here that kind of enables them to do that, and that's where they find themselves today. So this is a lot of consternation, a lot of fear in this energy, I would say. That's our starting point. Let's get a feel for what it is that you need to know and the sorts of things that maybe are headed your way in this energy. And I feel like that Mercury retrograde energy just kind of came in overnight. I see it in the notes. I see it in the notes. I felt it myself. There's a strong sense of that energy kind of coming in, and it, like, the shadow was already here, and for some of you it feels like it's been like several months long, Mercury retrograde, with the energy coming in the way that it has been. But this is on a different level. This happened, so I'm in the US. I'm in the center of the US. I'm toward the Midwest and on Chicago time. So that gives you some idea. So I'm going to be putting this video out at 10 a.m. That's where you'll see it from my time. But the reason I tell you that is that I think it was overnight during my night that this occurred. And so I know that'll be the same night for many of you, just understanding that not everybody's in the same time zone. So if we've got some folks that are in the UK, for example, you know, you're going to be a few hours different, and it's still going to be kind of that same time period where I think it happened based on the notes. So we have a few cards that have come out here, and we see the Lover's card. Essentially, this is the Corona Borealis, which in this deck, in the Constellations deck, this is the Corona Borealis is the equivalent of the Lover's card. The Four of Cups in the reverse, they continue to be they keep underestimating this relationship and the impact it's going to have on them, and they know that something isn't over with you with regard to, or something isn't over with this relationship, and that's what this earth is about. So this is similar to the world that we see here in the upright, where something has come to an end, and the thing that's come to an end for them has enabled them to have a little bit more perspective on this situation, as well as maybe frees them up to think about it a little bit differently. So we have the Corona Borealis, which is the Lover's card. This is a choice in love, but it's also about your bond. This is, in this case, strongly about the bond. I feel very little about the choice, even though, yes, there are absolutely choices inherent here. With the Four of Cups, they continue to be a little more surprised by the way they feel about things than they never wanted it to be this out of control, but they also never wanted it to be over. And, you know, I would say be careful what you wish for, because it surely isn't over. But they've known this. They've never had an opportunity to think, even for a short time, that maybe this is actually really over. So we've got a Nine of Wands, a lot of resistance, a lot of it's not just resistance, it's that defensiveness that I was feeling up there. And this is something that they would bring with them, almost a defensiveness that feels now I don't know that they are combative, but it almost has that kind of feel to it, almost a combative kind of feel. Let me see what I dropped here. Okay, so I've got a couple of them that came up here. We have the Three of Wands. The first two cards for sure. I don't know if it goes beyond that. We have the Three of Wands and the Four of Swords. Okay, yeah, and it is just those first two. So the Four of Swords talks about healing. This is something that moves you both in the direction of healing, and what that tells me here is that there is some kind of shift that is occurring at this time, and this is a great time to happen, or for it to happen, because you'll be pulled on it. You'll be pulled on by these energies just in general. But the good news is you've already set something in motion here with the Three of Wands that's going to help things move in the direction that they need to go, even though there's something hanging here that needs to be addressed with this Earth in the reverse. That isn't just something that isn't over yet or something that hasn't been resolved. It is something that needs to be resolved. So in some cases, you've got a lack of clarity, a troubling lack of clarity, and a troubling lack of closure on some things, where even if there is a future, we need some closure on some of what has transpired in the past. And that's what seems like it's sorely missing. But it also feels like that's the type of healing that's happening here. So you're moving toward a piece of closure that you have already more or less done some of the work to get toward, but the emotions surrounding it are in no way easy to deal with. They are in no way easy to deal with. Okay. All right, so we've got the Judgment card here in the reverse, which gives us that sense again of some of this profoundly not passing judgment. That's the words that I want to use. They are experiencing some profound misgivings about their own behaviors, but most of those behaviors are in the past. Or, okay, so part of it is, and this can be either one of you, but mostly it's them. I'm going to use an example, though, that is one of you. And it was one that came in one of the notes last night. So one of you had a dream where your person was in the dream, and like there was they asked a question, they called on you, like they were talking to a group, they called on you, the person, they called on you, excuse me, and like you were not listening. That's what happened in the dream, and there was this feeling of not passing judgment, this feeling of making, a public idiot of yourself in front of this person, almost like at them, and they called on you because they knew you weren't paying attention. It was that kind of thing. And it's this feeling of, I wish I had done something a little bit better. It doesn't pass judgment. It doesn't sit right, and they can't make it feel right. That was, of course, coming out of a dream, but some of this for them is coming out of dreams, where they're having dreams, and it's not the sort that makes them feel great about their actions, not the sort that it makes them go back and kind of think again about what is missing, what they've done, maybe what are those missed opportunities that, and how do they work through that, because with that Four of Cups, there's still a desire to work through it. With the Moon, it's still unclear as to how to go forward, but there's like this fast moving energy that makes them feel like they have to push forward. They also feel like there's some degree of this that sits in like their control. There's something that they feel like they're responsible for something, and they feel like they're not necessarily doing it. With this Knight of Pentacles, there is probably a little bit more movement than they really realize. So with the Knight of Pentacles, things are actually moving slowly but surely in the direction of not necessarily just union, but that reconciliation that comes before that union. But we've got your person suppressing so much of their emotion that even when some of it tries to bubble up, they aren't real articulate about it. So in some cases, they have been suppressing their emotions. They aren't quite sure how to uncover them. It's almost like it's locked out, and they can't figure out where they put the key. So it isn't so much that they can't access emotions, it's that they almost have forgotten how, or they've gotten rusty in some way that makes them feel a little bit more awkward, and that awkwardness adds to the resistance, and it makes it the fact that they feel responsible, like they feel like they should be able to move towards something, creates a little bit of frustration for them. So they get put in a place where they are now sitting there. They're thinking about the past. They're looking at a situation with you where they're trying to figure out, they feel like they've got to do something to move it forward, but they aren't exactly sure what to do. And so this is where you might find them heading your direction, but without any really serious understanding of what they're going to do when they get there. Not a concept that is new to us. We see an awful lot of that one. What's different is that they have some more idea of why they're doing what they're doing now. But that's not necessarily as helpful as what we would like for it to be, because they find it incredibly troubling, and so they do not easily navigate that ground. It's kind of it's a difficult ground to navigate, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, it feels like every time they turn around, there's something else that they don't know quite how to navigate. They're thrown off balance here. We see that with the Two of Pentacles, and let's see what hit the ground. Eight of Cups. Okay, it is finally time for them to start reestablishing some of this balance and start moving in a positive direction, but they are incredibly reluctant to do that. We see that here with the Death card. This relationship with you has essentially given them guidance as to the direction that they need to go in their healing, but they're not taking that direction to heart exactly. And it feels like they're stumbling back your direction. But again, it's because that's where they feel like the warmth is, but yet they don't quite know what to do when they get there. Feeling like they have multiple options or opportunities that have maybe shown up in front of them, but not necessarily feeling super comfortable with any of those opportunities. And it's because they don't understand the directions, or they don't understand the opportunities as they stand. So there's a lot of, I'm not sure which direction I would want to take this. I'm not sure if I can do more than one of these things at one time. Just a lot of lack of clarity in general. And so it is a frustrating time for them, but still feels like they can't help but move your direction. And especially what I've noticed is it's Corona Borealis, that Lover's card from this deck that sticks out maybe the most for me here. This, and then this Knight of Cups that I'm feeling over here in their energy. And this is why some of you start to hear from this person, even though they had no intention of reaching out. So this is a person who has been feeling that push and that pull. They're very drawn to reach out to you, but or to deepen the communication in some way, but they're also terrified to do that because of the new opportunities that it brings and the new positions that it puts them in. They're feeling like, since they're already they're able to be in control of some of this, which makes them feel like there's a sense of responsibility that they are more or less not really engaging, and that they feel bad about not engaging, or feel like it's hanging over their head somehow. There's a sense of guilt there. This is an uncomfortable spot for this person, but I don't see that they're able to really stay away. I feel like there's a magnetic sense of them coming in to want to make something right, but they don't exactly know what it is, and they don't exactly know how to make it right. They just know it's in your direction. And yet there's that strong self-destructive streak. There's that I'm holding my emotions down as much as possible. So they're still clenching and trying to keep as much control of things as possible. But they're kind of being pushed to find a solution. So I feel like they're heading your direction, but I feel like what could be coming from that at this time, especially in this energy, could be pretty confusing. So that's what we're going to do when we get into the extended, is just look to see what happens when they get here. Like, how does that look, and what again would you need to know? Before we get into that, we're going to get into the you portion of the reading, which is the lessons that you want to be focusing on, but it's also going to be, it's got some advice to it, so a little bit of it infers, from that you can infer maybe a little bit of what you should be doing. And sometimes it's real direct as far as advice about what you should be doing. I would invite that direct advice to come in, but also just to understand what lessons you should be focusing on. So we've got that Six of Wands. Six of Wands says the healing isn't over yet. You're still very much in the throes of working through this connection, working through some of the challenges that this connection has brought. With the Five of Wands, the challenges continue, and it's not necessarily that you haven't made progress. So I feel like in this case, you have made a fair amount of progress, but it's that halting progress where, you make a couple steps forward, one step back, and then another step forward, a couple steps back, and sometimes it's difficult to tell until you zoom out and look at it from a distance that you're actually making progress. But rest assured, there is absolutely progress here. Okay, let's see, I dropped a card. And it is face up. So we've got the Queen of Swords here. Queen of Swords is about making good decisions that really serve, but they also happen relatively quickly. So the guidance here is to trust yourself and your intuition. Be ready to make transformative decisions, but the worry that we would have looking at this guidance is that you may see something and make a decision a little too quickly just to get that decision out from in front of you. Yeah, and there's a little bit of a sense of avoidance in here and not necessarily knowing everything that you are wanting to get out of the end of this. So there's definitely a sense of understanding a lot of what makes you happy, but what makes you happy is constantly changing. And as you learn new lessons, it will continue to change. So you're going to need to keep your finger on the pulse of this. When you look at what is your wish fulfillment, what is it that makes you happy, your person has got to go on a quest for this, or definitely has some answers to find there as well. We've heard about this quest time and time again. You also, to a certain degree, have this quest. You just may not be as far out of true. The thing that you need to note here is that as you do the learning, as you kind of move along in the process, you are going to discover that it is different things that make you happy, and you've got to keep up. You've got to keep up with that. But there is some resistance on your side to allowing yourself to get to a place where you can truly release what you need to release and move to a new place. I saw this GIF yesterday of a person who was, it was basically labeled, here's how you stop yourself from being able to walk through new doors by holding on to something old. And it was this string attached to this old concept that was kind of that was closing the door as the person advanced it. I'm sure I'm not describing it very well, but it was basically because they were unable to let go of something old, they were creating a situation where they were closing doors for themselves. And that's what this Tower card reminds me of a little bit here. So it's got a bit of a self-destructive streak, but it's not actively self-destructive. It's very passively so. So I would call it something a little different there. And there I go, dropping cards again. But all of those fell face down. So, let's see what we got here. So we got Three of Swords. Okay, so be prepared for some emotions to come out. I don't feel like these are hard for you to get past because of what you've done for yourself. There's been some pretty significant lessons already that you've worked through that are going to help to give you some of the clarity that you're looking for, some of the stability that you're looking for here. But also we have this Ten of Wands that has come out here in the middle. And this Ten of Wands is about carrying too much. It's very clearly carrying too much of a load. But in your case, it could venture toward burnout. It could venture toward burnout, and it could happen fairly quickly because of the emotions that we're finding attached. This is the energy of waking up from a dream that really frustrates you or really scares you and feeling like I just can't handle this day, or something happening that might not have been the straw that broke. It might be the straw that breaks the camel's back. It might be something that from a feelings perspective, you realize that something has to change, that you cannot continue the way that you have been. So note this Tower here in the reverse, because I feel like it's probably about time for that Tower to start making to start to fall. And despite the fact that you can create some stability for yourself, there may be a lot of fear about letting that Tower fall, but the good news is the ability to create that stability for yourself and to rebuild is going to translate to recovering from this Tower situation. I don't get the sense that this is a huge thing. I think it's a different way of looking at the situation, so that when you come back to it, the emotions might not change actively, but your perspective does. And with that, the emotions will begin to change. What you need to avoid here is the potential burnout that comes from feeling the weight of the situation, feeling the emotions from the situation, but not allowing the change. So there's definitely a need to roll with that change, allow it to happen as it needs to happen, and that's kind of the important message that comes out there. It can be very overwhelming, and it's almost like you may have to outsmart yourself in order to let that Tower fall. something's out of balance. So we know this. We know that something is out of balance with regard to this situation with you. But what I will tell you is that this is both masculine and feminine balance within you that needs to be adjusted. So we have that masculine and feminine balance within the self that needs to be adjusted. And then we have it like between the two of you. So within a relationship, this is balancing it within yourself, but it's like you will have some experiences here, if you haven't already, that have you feeling a little out of balance, and I feel like you're able to do what is needed to get back to where you need to go. And I feel like the energy of your surrounding energy is going to help to bring you there. Your guides are very much on your side during this time. You have a lot of support, a lot of love, probably more than you even realize there. But it is a situation where you have to ask for that help and support in some ways. They aren't allowed to just jump in and do for you what you may wish to have done. So this is a great time to get in and connect with your higher self, and to ask for the type of protection and help that you're seeking. But know that it's like it's ready to happen. You may feel it jump into effect very quickly. So here with this Princess of Swords, we've got a Princess of Swords in the upright and a Princess of Cups in the reverse. So this is that sense of, and we've seen it with your person where, you know, they chase you down, and when they get there, they aren't quite sure what to say. It's the same concept, but it's not you chasing your person down. It is enacting something or engaging in something and then not being sure what to do when you get there. Like, I'm just going to wing it. And it's maybe something that isn't a great thing to wing. But I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing. I also feel like this is you kind of getting used to yourself, the way that your energy feels in today's world, which is maybe a little different from what it has felt like in the past. You're growing into yourself. You're making changes. There is something here that's like a chunk that needs to break off. And once that happens, then the healing will start to come for you a little bit more quickly and globally. But there's something that has to it's a chunk that has to break off. That's really the way that it keeps wanting to come through. But I feel like you've got that opportunity here to work at that. And when you see it, to know, okay, no, it's okay to let this happen. So make sure that you are kind of being vigilant for that. So I think we're going to go ahead and go into the extended, look a little bit more into what you're expecting from this person. So they're being like magnetized in to deal with something, but not sure once again how they're going to address it when they get there. A lot of nervousness about the fact that they feel like they're in control of something, that they don't know how to be in control of it. They're feeling off balance. They have too much of an idea of why they're doing what they're doing to really ignore the overall situation the way that they would feel more comfortable doing. But they've already set into motion some of the healing that's coming for them here. So let's get a feel for what that might look like, and maybe a little bit more of an idea of what you can be doing about it. So that's what we'll do when we get into the extended. The link is down below. I'd love to see you there. Otherwise, I'll see you again in tomorrow's reading.